Everyone told me to send them away, and that decision changed all three of our lives forever.
The rain had been falling since before dawn. Edgar Holt didn't mind rain. Rain meant the wheat would drink, the soil would soften, and tomorrow's work would be easier than today's. He had farmed this valley for 23 years, first with his wife Clara, and then, after the fever took her, alone. He was not a bitter man, but he was a quiet one. The kind of man who spoke more to his dog Cole than to any neighbor. It was Cole who found them first. The old black hound had been barking at the south barn since Edgar finished his supper, and when he finally pulled on his boots and walked out with a lantern, he saw them huddled between two hay bales. Two orc girls, soaked through, shivering, their skin the color of storm clouds and river moss. The older one had positioned herself in front of the younger, arms spread wide, teeth bared, eyes burning with a particular desperation of someone who has run out of options but refuses to stop fighting. "Easy," Edgar said, holding the lantern low so it wouldn't blind them. "Easy now." The older girl, she couldn't have been more than 15, snarled at him. A warning. The younger one, maybe 7 or 8, peeked around her sister's arm with enormous brown eyes that held more fear than anger. Edgar looked at them for a long moment. Then he looked at Cole, who had sat down and stopped barking, tail moving slowly. The dog was a better judge of character than most humans Edgar had known. "You hungry?" he asked. The older girl said nothing. But the younger one's stomach answered, a long, hollow growl that echoed in the quiet barn. Edgar nodded once and went back inside. He came back 10 minutes later with 2 bowls of the vegetable stew he'd made for himself, 2 thick slices of bread, and a cup of water. He set them on the barn floor, stepped back and waited. The younger girl moved first. She crawled forward and grabbed the bread with both hands, eating with the concentrated urgency of a child who has gone multiple days without food. The older girl watched Edgar the entire time she ate, never taking her amber eyes off him, half crouched, ready to run or fight. "My name's Edgar," he said quietly. "This is my farm. You're safe here tonight." He didn't ask their names. He didn't ask where they came from or what had happened to them, or why 2 young orc girls were hiding alone in a stranger's barn in the middle of a rainstorm. Those questions could wait or never come at all. Tonight they were hungry and frightened and cold, and that was enough information for any decent person to act on. He brought them blankets. He brought them dry clothes, old things of Clara's he'd never been able to throw away, cut down roughly to size. He told them the barn was warm and the dog wouldn't bother them, and then he went back to his house and left them alone. In the morning they were still there. He found out their names slowly over days. The older one was Zara. The younger was Mira. They were sisters, the only children of an orc healer who had been killed 3 weeks earlier when their village was burned in a border raid. They had walked for 11 days before finding Edgar's barn. Zara had kept Mira alive on river water and wild berries and sheer force of will. Edgar didn't make a speech about it. He didn't hold a ceremony. He simply set 2 more places at his table the next morning and said, "Eat before it gets cold." That was how it began. The village talked, of course. People in Millhaven had opinions about a human farmer taking in orc children, and few of those opinions were kind. Men stopped greeting Edgar at the market. The miller's wife crossed the street to avoid him. A stone was thrown through his window one night, and he replaced the glass without mentioning it to the girls. What the village didn't see was Zara learning to read by firelight, her finger tracing each word with furious concentration. They didn't see Mira following Cole through the fields every morning, naming every flower she found. They didn't see Edgar teaching them how to plant, how to harvest, how to preserve food for winter. Not as labor, but as knowledge, as the kind of education that keeps a person alive in a hard world. He was not their father. He never claimed to be. But he was constant, and in the lives of children who had lost everything, constancy is its own kind of love. 10 years passed. Zara was 25 when the letter came from the capital. She had been studying law, first from books Edgar ordered by mail, then by correspondence with a firm in the city that had been willing to overlook the color of her skin in favor of the sharpness of her mind. The letter bore a gold seal. She had passed the bar examination. She was the first orc attorney in the history of the province. Mira was 17, and she was already being called the best young healer in the valley, trained by the same village doctor who had once refused to treat her, until Mira quietly saved his grandson's life during a fever outbreak, and he had the grace to be ashamed of himself. On the evening the letter arrived, the three of them sat at the same old wooden table, with the same cracked pitcher of water, and the same kind of bread. Cole was gone, buried under the oak tree 3 years ago, but a new young hound slept by the fire. Edgar read the letter twice. Then he folded it carefully and set it down. "I always knew," he said. Zara looked at him. "You couldn't have known." "I didn't know. I knew the night I brought you soup," Edgar said simply. "Anyone who protects someone else when they have nothing left to protect themselves with, that person will always find a way." Mira reached across the table and put her small green hand over his weathered one. Outside, the wheat moved in the evening wind, golden and full, ready for harvest. Some things once planted never stop growing.